Crossing Market Street, heading uphill in the driverless car. I've got a 49ers update for you. We're covering everything from Brandon Aiyuk to Trent Williams to Brock Purdy and how much he's going to play against the Raiders on Friday to Dominick Puni. Kyle Shanahan referred to Dominic Puni as the 49ers starting right guard. Now, the quote might have been a little bit more complicated than that, but I will get to it. First, we'll start with Brandon Aiyuk. This came on KMBR, by the way. Kyle Shanahan spoke on KMBR Wednesday afternoon. He apologized for boring us, but no updates on the Brandon Aiyuk front from Kyle Shanahan. However, he did have an update on the Trent Williams front. Quote, some contact with Trent Williams. He said the 49ers are negotiating hard, and he hopes to see Trent Williams soon. Again, the refrain for Trent Williams throughout this entire thing has been that the 49ers have not been worried about it. And Kyle Shanahan doesn't seem worried about it. Seems like things are nearing the conclusion of negotiations for Trent Williams. Just if I had to read the messaging coming out of the 49ers building. Deshaun Jackson said that Trent Williams would be in the building soon yesterday on Fox Sports 1 after talking to Trent Williams on the phone. This is unbelievable. There's a guy pulling out in front of us. This guy's brave. I gotta flip all the way around. You can't quite see it. But anyway, you could see the car driving next to me. That's the cool shot here in San Francisco as we're working our way up. The plan for Friday is that Brock Purdy is going to play, and the starters are going to play about one half. So the 49ers are treating this, at least as far as playing time goes, as their dress rehearsal game. I don't know if they definitely haven't. I mean, because it's a short week, the 49ers have had much less time to prepare than their typical dress rehearsal game. So they're not going to be able to play, or not going to be able to game plan in the same way that they have game plan in the past for this third preseason game. It was still kind of had training camp like vibes at practice this week, but they do want to utilize the opportunity to get enough reps to get the starters ready for the regular season. They obviously played Purdy and essentially none of their skill position starters against the New Orleans Saints. I would expect them to play Purdy for one half, including almost all of their skill position starters, obviously not Brandon Aiyuk, for about the first half here against the Raiders on Friday. So that should be interesting to see, just to see how the 49ers are clicking cohesively. Obviously, without game planning or with only minor game planning against the Raiders, I wouldn't read all too far into the actual results of the game on Friday. But you would, if you're the 49ers, like to see some rhythm and some cohesion and a step forward confidence-wise into the regular season. So that's what we're expecting for the 49ers coming up on Friday against the Raiders. Now, Shanahan on KMBR was asked about playing Purdy despite the fact on last Sunday, despite the fact that the 49ers didn't have all too many starters in. And he responded saying that the 49ers had possibly both starting tackles, their starting center, and their starting right guard in Dominic Puni in the game in front of Purdy this weekend. Now, let's dissect what he said, and I'll get to the Puni part in a second because we've got to focus on that. But first he said, we possibly had both of our starting tackles in there. That was a reference to the fact that Trent Williams continues to hold out right now. So, yeah, possibly you didn't have... but possibly Jalen Moore is going to start at left tackle for the 49ers. The 49ers definitely hope that that's not true, but I think that Kyle Shanahan was pulling our leg a little bit when he said that. But he does have a point. The rest of the line, including Dominic Puni, the right guard, those might have been starters that we saw for the 49ers. Aaron Banks, by the way, right now at the left guard position, he has a broken pinky, and he's going to be back week 1 at the soonest. The 49ers hope that he's going to be back week 1. So that isn't a definite thing. But Jake Brendel at center, yes, that's going to be a starter. Colton McKivitz at right tackle, yes, that's going to be a starter. And right guard, Dominick Puni, well, there might have been a probably in there, but Kyle Shanahan did refer to Dominick Puni as a starter for the 49ers in week 1. And Dominic Puni has earned this recognition. We've talked about it quite a bit now. The pass protection's been on point. What is it? 44 snaps in pass protection through 2 preseason games for Dominic Puni. And he has not given up a single sack. He's only given up 1 pressure. The run blocking has been the biggest pleasant surprise, though, for the 49ers. Puni was a better pass protector than run blocker coming out of college. The 49ers system demands a unique and high level of run blocking. You have to really be able to move. That's why they really like Aaron Banks as a run blocker, because he's, 320, 330 pounds, but he can really get off the line of scrimmage. Puni has a strong anchor. We knew that coming out of Kansas, where he didn't give up any sacks, but we weren't sure if he was going to be able to execute the run blocks the way that Kyle Shanahan has wanted to. The very first pull block that he was asked to execute was in the first drive against the Titans. It was on the touchdown play for Jordan Mason. Puni not only executed his block, but he also was able to follow the play and help push Mason into the end zone. Mason told me in the locker room after that he wasn't getting into the end zone unless Dominick Puni helped out with that push. So he was directly responsible for a touchdown on his first pull block. Then they had him running into the second level quite a bit over more extended action against the New Orleans Saints. And those clips are all floating around online. Dominick Puni was really impressive in space. On top of that, he was doing little small things right in pass protection that were helping the man next to him, namely Colton McKivitz. I think Colton has added some pass blocking moves to his arsenal. You have to remember, this is year 2 for Colton McKivitz. So he's been around the 49ers since 2020, but year 2 as a starter at right tackle. So I think it is absolutely plausible to expect some improvement from Colton McKivitz technique-wise in this year. It's not like he's been around starting at that position forever. By the way, we're in Nopa, north of Panhandle. I don't know if you can see here behind me. I can't flip the camera around because I'm recording this, but north of Panhandle is a great neighborhood. It used to be a bunch of auto body shops, but it's kind of been repurposed into a hipster neighborhood. They had the old $4 toast here at the mill, which is now probably $14. But the Beanbag Cafe on Hayes and Divisadero. I know you couldn't see it, but the Beanbag Cafe, absolute must try for a breakfast burrito in San Francisco. And then you got 4505, the barbecue, plus Emporium, which is an awesome spot. It's an old former movie theater turned into an arcade bar where I think it could be a great spot to watch Niners games. I saw the Warriors there in the NBA Finals, and the place was completely lit. It sounded as loud as the stadium because there's people packed up into the balcony of the former theater watching this game, drinking, and there was no room to play air hockey on that day when I was there for the Warriors NBA. I've been there for 2 NBA Finals games. Both were awesome at Emporium. But anyway, back to the offensive line and Dominick Puni. He's impressed helping guys next to him. I think he's made Colton McKivitz a better football player. And I think that McKivitz stands to benefit big time over the course of the regular season, not only from the progress that he's made technically, but also from the progress that the 49ers should make at right guard if Puni's an upgrade over Spencer Burford and company. In practice today, the 49ers were running Burford in the individual drills at left guard. He's the second team left guard, but he still has the broken hand. He's got a club/cast on it, so I don't know where he's going to be once they start team drills again with him in there. But they're already starting to say, okay, how can we make up for the loss of Aaron Banks while he's out with the broken pinky? And we've seen Zakel at left guard, Nick Zakel at left guard. We've seen Ben Barch at left guard, and I think we've seen at least some signs of Spencer Burford at that left guard position. Dominick Puni, it seems that they're pushing all the chips into the middle of the table on Puni at right guard, the 3rd round pick. Now, we also might see Jarrett Kingston, the 49ers' 6th round pick, eventually do something at one of the guard positions. I think that the Banks injury and the John Feliciano injury, it's going to keep him out maybe half the season. He had knee surgery. That has increased the spotlight on the 49ers' 2nd draft pick in this 2024 class for the offensive line, and that's Jarrett Kingston. Kingston had the 5th fastest short shuttle of any offensive lineman in this recent draft. Dominick Puni had the 3rd fastest short shuttle. So both of these guys are tremendously athletic for their size. They can move from left to right. I think that really helps in terms of pass protection. Obviously, like, you want the athleticism to be able to get to the second level. That's more of like a 3-cone thing. And Chris Furster said that he loves tracking the 3-cone with offensive linemen. And Puni and Kingston were both better with the 3-cone, but they were absolutely elite, top 5 with the short shuttle. And that has had a great correlation to offensive linemen who have succeeded at the NFL level. So I'm going to stand up on my soapbox at least one more time. I may do it in the future again, because I was so sick and tired of getting attacked after the draft for saying that the 49ers invested in the offensive line, and people were trying to shout at me saying that they hadn't, just because they didn't play fantasy football and use a first or second round pick on an O-lineman does not mean that they did not invest in the O-line. They invested a 3rd rounder and a 6th rounder on Puni and Kingston respectively, and both of these guys look like players, especially Dominick Puni. So it looks like I was right. It looks like the investment was there in the offensive line, and it looks like the investment is indeed paying off for the 49ers. We'll see where Kingston ends up, but Puni sure seems destined for a starting spot on this San Francisco offensive line, and that's big. And Kyle Shanahan's update, the fact that he's speaking of Dominick Puni as a starter right now, that just reflects what we've seen on the field over the course of training camp. Got a few more minutes here. We're going to pass by the San Francisco Athletic Club, whose logo looks very similar to our logo at the Athletic, by the way. And they're going to be outside this right window, so maybe... Oh, no, we're going to be turning here. We're not going to be able to see the San Francisco Athletic Club. That's too bad. Well, at least on this next turn, in a few seconds, you'll be able to see the wheel turning. I'll angle it over toward there so you can see Casper driving the car. He's been a great companion for us, Casper has, over the course of the past few months, because it gives me time to do some work, put in some shows, even while I'm moving through the city. All right. Oh, we abandoned the left turn. That was really smart of the driverless car, because it was going to be hard to make that left turn. So we continue moving forward, and we're going to be able to see the San Francisco Athletic Club. Speaking of places to watch the Warriors, the San Francisco Athletic Club on Divisadero, and the Niners, of course. That was a really good spot. I watched some finals games here. So you're going to be able to see it right behind me. There it is, the San Francisco Athletic Club. Divisadero and Bush in the city. And finally, we'll be making our left turn. So you're going to be able to see Casper driving here. Hopefully he stays safe. We did it. Nice left turn from Casper. And now we climb up Pacific Heights. Tony Pacific Heights in San Francisco. All right, Puni at right guard, Purdy for an entire half along with the starters. That's what Kyle Shanahan is telling the starters to prepare for. Maybe we see Deebo Samuel and George Kittle for the first time in Vegas. I will be there. It's going to be fun to watch. Back to the scene of the crime of the Super Bowl. Will Trent Williams be signed by then? Will Brandon Aiyuk be signed by then? Well, no updates on the Aiyuk front, and the Williams front, well, that one is a little, it seems to be a little bit further along. Aiyuk, they're close. We know they're close with Aiyuk, but does close mean that it's gonna, that saga, that ordeal is gonna end in the next couple days? Or does it mean that it's going to take a couple more weeks? That's been so unpredictable about the Brandon Aiyuk saga, because it just seems that he's been more mercurial throughout this whole process. With Williams, they've known that this is probably just a matter of guaranteeing some money, raising the salary a bit. Plus, Williams has more leverage. Like it or not, he's more important toward the entire construction of this offense than Brandon Aiyuk. And I think that that has made it one of those definite, the 49ers know what they need to do. He's clear at age 36 of what he wants, and they could push it across the finish line. And they're going to hope that they can push Brandon Ayuk's deal across the finish line as well. All right, I'm a minute from arriving. Say goodbye to Casper as we climb up one more hill here in Pacific Heights. That's your 49ers update. Hope you're enjoying your evening. We'll talk to everybody very soon.